Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today what I want to do, I want to talk about, it has to do with the ethics of selling watches by the watch companies and the importance of understanding what we're getting when we buy something. And the whole notion of ethics in the context of buying watches or anything else, I think is very important. All right, so let's get started. Got a lot to cover here. So, um, if I go to a watch site, I want to find out about a watch. For example, the Historiques Americaine 1921 seemed to be a fairly popular Vacheron Content 10 watch. They have the price up there, 34,400. They got a picture of the watch. And if you scroll down some, what you'll see is they'll have the caliber and they'll have a picture of the caliber. And in fact, they have quite a good one. It goes up and you can see all kinds of stuff with it. They have the reference numbers, the 4400, manual winding, and so forth. And at the bottom, it has the hallmark of Geneva, which certifies it as being, one of the top-notch kinds of movements in Geneva. Now, on the other end of the scale, you have relatively inexpensive but nice watches. This one German watch I found is called Thomas Ninkrist, and the watch that I was looking at is a pilot's watch called Fliegeruhr, and the Fliegeruhr means pilot's watch in German. And the price they had was in euros. I got it translated into dollars, $2,370. And then in the information for the watch, they have, it says Uhrwerk TN200. So the caliber is TN200. And then at the bottom underneath that, they have the basis is the Unitas ETA 6498-1. Now, in looking at that, I like that watch. I mean, this is something that I might buy, and the price is right, at least as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's not too crazy, and I know what I'm getting. There's similar watches that they'll have the same movement and just about everything else the same, and they'll want $5,000 or $6,000 for it. Well, this is what I'm most concerned about, and so I'm going to take a look at the various ways in which we need to really come to understand what we're getting. My own wish is that I wish that the watch companies were as ethical as Thomas Ninkrist is. In other words, you see what you're getting. And one thing you'll find in general, I think, when you go shopping for a really good watch, they have all that information. They have no problem giving you information about the movement. This one, for example, is my Moser H. Moser. All of the information about that movement is available. This particular model, they don't make anymore, but when it was, you had all that information available. Okay, now you can do it on any level. Now, what happens, and this is what really gets me, is that some companies, in some ways, attempt to sell a watch as something more than it in fact is. It'll have an inexpensive movement in it, but yet they'll want high horology prices for it. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these. Now, the first one I want to look at is one that is, at least as far as I can see, very upfront about what's inside of them. This one's called the Tissot Heritage Navigator Automatic 160th Anniversary COSC. Now, it's a limited edition, usually an anniversary watch is, and they have all of the information there. The movement type is a Swiss automatic, and then it says COSC certified chronometer, and then they have the model is an ETA 2893-3. Hey, that's, I know all about this. I mean, this is a lot for $1,650. That's a heck of a good deal. Now, one thing is important to understand about ETA, they have 4 different qualities. They have the standard quality, which is adjusted to 2 positions. Now, what that means is that the watch is, they'll put the watch like this, and they will put it on a timer and see how accurate it is. And then they'll put it in another position. Let's say they might just turn it over and see what the other side is. Now, the reason that this is important is that the more position that a watch is adjusted from, the more accurate it's going to be. Okay, so the first quality, or what they call the standard quality, is just adjusted to 2 positions. It doesn't take as long as it does to adjust it to more positions. If you look at the number of positions that your really good watches have, on the back they'll say they're adjusted to 6 positions. Your high horology will generally say they're 5 positions. Elaborated will say 6. Okay, now, not elaborated, but exceptional horology. The second type of ETA is called an elaborated. Now that's adjusted to 3 positions. So you can have it like this, and some other position that is important to adjust it in. Now, the very best ETA, or what they call the top, I actually is sort of the second best, is adjusted to 5 positions. Now, usually if a watch is adjusted to 5 positions, that's all you're going to need. There's some debate whether it really needs 6 or not, but okay. Finally, the very top is their chronometer movement, and this thing meets COSC standards. Now, here we're looking at a Tissot Heritage Navigator Automatic 160th Anniversary, so forth, COSC, and it meets COSC certification. So that tells us this is the very best ETA. Well, hey, I've got no problem with that. Now, one of the other things is that some people say, well, as long as the watch moves, it works, the movement's not that important. But it depends on a lot of stuff. Now, let's look at a little further at this Tissot, and we can take a look at the movement that's in this Tissot. We'll look at the movement. It's called the ETA Mechelin Specialties, the 2893-3, and the front of it has the time zone, all of the different cities in the time zone. All right, so, basically you pop it into a case and Bob's your uncle. You got your watch made. This is nothing against this Tissot, because I think having one with a COSC certification is worth a lot, and I think this is a heck of a good buy. If I were in the market for something like that. All right, there's another point too. Swatch owns ETA, and as well as Tissot and Omega and a whole lot of other brands, and so that's the whole issue of in-house or not in-house becomes a little more complex than that. Okay, so let's start looking at some watches. Now we're going to start off with an IWC watch called the Portofino Automatic. Now they sell this for $4,500, and the movement they have is a 31-111 caliber automatic, self-winding, so forth, and they have the decorations as the what are the Côte de Genève, which is the same as the Geneva Wave, and Perlage, which is those little round things on there. Now, so you have this description. As you know, it's a nice looking watch too. IWC's got a good reputation, and $4,500 is not cheap. I don't care what anybody says. I got some watches that are much more expensive than that. That doesn't make $4,500 cheap. Okay, believe me, it doesn't. All right, but then what they haven't said is that the base of the caliber 35-111 is a Sellita SW300. All right. I wish they would. So, on the other hand, if we go take a look at there's a what's called the Financial District by Sen that has certain similarities to it, and it's using the identical same movement, the Sellita SW300-1. and but it's 21,600. It's less than half as much in the price. And well, what are you getting? Well, I got an IWC. And IWC, there's no two ways about it. It's got a better reputation. But to me, why? If you're going to have something and Sin tells you what the movement is, which I respect a great deal, and you're not paying crazy amount for something that's not a higher level movement. Okay? All right, so that's one of the reasons that it's important to know what's in your watch and why watch companies should tell us. All right, now here we compare another IWC with a Hamilton. And the IWC is almost $5,000, and the Hamilton is $32.95. Okay, they're both chronographs, and one has an ETA 7750, the other one has an ETA 7753. Neither one of them tell you that. You got to go digging up that information. Usually what you have to do is you find out something. A lot of times they'll have a caliber name for it, like the 31111. You look that up in WatchBase and you find out that's really a Sellita 300. The same thing with Hamilton. They do the same thing. They have a Hamilton designation, and then you have to go look it up and find out what it is. You find out it's not an in-house Hamilton or in-house IWC. We'll talk about in-house in a bit, or what's called manufactured. All right, going on. Again, here you can save almost $2,000 on a Hamilton over an IWC with not identical, but very similar movements. Okay, now here's an IWC with an true in-house movement. And look at the price. So you go from about $5,000 up to $13,400. There's a big jump. Now, why is there such a big jump? We're talking about, this is called a big pilot heritage. Why is there a big jump? It has to do with it costs money to put in a better movement. Now, if the movement was the same, I don't think there would be a lot of, in terms of the cost for the company, if they'd be the same, why would this one be so much more? They're both made out of steel, and the only difference is the movement. So the watch companies themselves know there is a difference. Now, this is an IWC 59215 caliber, manual winding. Oh, it's a honey of a movement. I love a watch like this. It's a beautiful watch. One of the interesting things is that I wish they would show more of the movement. Now, here they have like a peep show for the movement. They got this little hole in the back. But now here's a good IWC, I think. It is expensive, but it's got something worthwhile in it. I don't know if it's worth that much, but it's worth a lot more than very little. Okay, now, and again, though, here you will see them bragging about their movement as manufactured, which is the same as in-house. All right, let's go on, take a look at a Breitling. Now, this is a Breitling nav timer 8 automatic, date 41, and it's 41,150. All right, now the movement inside of it is an ETA 2834-2. And I put the front and the back of the movement there for you because it's the identical movement is in a Hamilton. The Hamilton calls it the H40, H for Hamilton. Breitling calls it a B45. Now, I don't see 38 or over $3,000 in difference between these two watches. And if you look at the movement takes care of the day, date, and everything else. And it's you're not told this though by either one of them. Hamilton doesn't, Breitling doesn't. I'm starting to like to sew more and more, as well as these other companies that tell you. Okay, and look at the money you save. you know, now if you want to have a watch that says Breitling, that's okay. I mean, you can pay $3,000 for that. Go ahead, but I think I would like to know ahead of time. All right, now let's take a look at another one. This one just drives me nuts. This is another Breitling 4560. It's called a Super Ocean Heritage 2 B20 Automatic 44, and the movement is called the B20. It's called movement is Breitling 20, manufactured. what they did is that they have a pretty good movement in it. It's not an inexpensive movement. They put in a Tudor movement, a Tudor MT5612. How did they get off calling it manufactured? Well, they changed two things. One, if you look at the one on the bottom, the Tudor there, it doesn't have much in terms of decorations like Geneva waves or anything like that. Well, you can Geneva wave it up on that, and they did, and you can see so brightly. What are you paying? For to call it manufactured. Why bother with that? Why not say this thing has got a Tudor in it? The Tudor movement was originally introduced in the Tudor Pelagos, which won a Grand Prix award. And so I said, as a Breitling, we put in this Tudor movement that it was a Grand Prix winner. What is wrong with these guys? I mean, it's sort of like the marketing guys. Well, we gotta call it Breitling, otherwise, and we gotta say it's manufactured. Well, putting Geneva waves on it, you make changes. They did one other thing too, which to me was going the wrong direction. Rolex, who owns Tudor, had been using a lot of silicon because of the anti-magnetic properties of it, and they had developed hairsprings out of silicon to reduce it. And there was a special kind of stuff that they had to do. Well, they had it in the MT5612, the original Tudor, but they took it out of the one that Breitling used. I'm not sure why. I got my guesses about it. They probably put it in a Narvox or something like that. I have no idea why. But they did. And so now they call it manufactured. Well, yeah, I guess if you manufacture a little part of it and you call it manufactured. It drives me nuts. Okay, stuff to know. All right, let's go on. Now, this one, Cartier, Cartier has this one model called the Balloon Blue. It's a very cool looking model. I mean, I like it a lot, and it's very popular with women. This particular one is the men's. Everybody likes it, I think. Okay, so the Balloon Blue. All right, they want $6,000 for that, and the movement is the Cartier version of the ETA 2892A2. Okay. Was the base of the caliber 049. Now, on the bottom there, I put the write-up about it, and there's not a thing about caliber 049. Okay, nothing about 049. Well, all right. Why not? Because it's so easy to go to watchbase.com, look it up, and if you look up 049, they'll say, well, the base is an ETA 2892. Okay. All right. Let's go on now. Here's another one that just came out. This is a 2018 model that was introduced, and it's called the Drive to Cartier watch. Now, in this write-up, they have all kinds of stuff about it. They have this new movement called the 1904 PS MC, and it is a full Cartier in-house movement. And they're selling a watch for $250 more than the Balloon Blue. It's totally in-house. Now, if the origin of a movement was not important, or the type of movement wasn't important, why would Cartier have it only for the ones with their in-house movement or their manufactured movement. But on the other hand, it's from their catalog. I mean, their online catalog. You can go see it for yourself. If and so what it does, it starts giving us as collectors and watch buyers clues. Hey, if they don't put it there, maybe something's wrong with it. Okay, maybe something's up. In order to find it, I had to go look up the reference number and then follow the reference number going back to watchbase.com. A lot of times, watchbase.com is not going to have the movement for it. They just haven't. They don't have it for one reason or the other. It's too new, too old, too something. But man, I tell you, they all should be like this. You know, hey, this is the movement in it, but they only have it for that. Here's the other thing about this is that's $250 more for an in-house movement. You know, that sounds pretty good to me. They put those into the balloon blue. Why is the balloon blue so popular? Well, ironically, at one time, the Duchess of Cambridge was seen wearing one. And so what became very popular for the women. But the larger one, the one we just saw, was popular among the men too. So it's just crazy. Okay, now there's another thing. This is beside ETA and Sellita are soap product, and there's a couple of Japanese companies that Mayota and some other ones that sell to people, to watch companies who aren't part of their company. Now, one of the most interesting one is Vaucher. Now, a Vaucher movement is expensive. Okay, they're roughly 10 times what your entry level Vaucher is going to be 10 times what your entry level ETA is, roughly. Okay, so what about that? Well, again, if you know what's in it, that's a big plus. I like Breitling. I still think Breitling should have said, "Hey, we put a Tudor in this one, Tudor movement that won an award. That would have been great," but they didn't. They had some other kind of story. Okay, now with Vaucher, this is a funny deal. Both Hermes owns about 25% of it, and from the beginning, Vaucher has made all of the movements for Parmigiani Fleurier. Okay, now the reason for that is that there are two kinds of movements that Vaucher has. One kind of movement is what I'll call off-the-shelf movements. In other words, they say, we have this movement and it's what you want. Okay, and you can put it in your watch and fix it up any way you want to. Okay. Another kind of movement is when, especially with Parmigiani, they go there and they say, look, Michael Parmigiani designed this and we'd like you to produce it. And Bob's your uncle. They will do that too. So they have two types, the off-the-shelf and non-off-the-shelf. Now, one of the, what I'll call off-the-shelf, is called a VMF 5401. Okay, if you go to the Vaucher site, you can see that among many of the others they have there. All right, and so this particular movement is in 3 different watches. It's in the Slim de Hermes. I think I won one of the awards some years ago. Tonda 1950, and then the Richard Mille RMO 33. Okay, now Richard Mille is totally independent, so anybody can go to Vaucher and say, hey, as long as you get 25, you have to buy 25 movements. So it's sort of like if you got $25,000, you can get started with Vaucher. All right, so when you have that, here are, you can see at the top up there, 3 different watches, the price of it. Now, Hermes stamped their H's all over it, and I don't know if they did much else to the movement, and they sell it for $7,650. Okay, Parmigiani did a lot more. They did, if you look carefully, you'll be able to see the beveling that they did, including on the tips and so forth, on their Tonda 1950, and it's their asking price is $990. Okay. So finally, you have Richard Mille. They want $70,000 for it, for the RM33 extra flat automatic. All right, so you look at the movement and you say, well, you can see just from what they did on the rotors is that, yeah, okay, what's going on here? But if you look closely at the Richard Mille, you can see they put in different screws with those little star heads so that you can't just use a regular, somebody like me can't go in there with their screwdriver and take it out. All right, now here, oh, by the way, in the lower left down there where it says Seed VMF 5401HM, again, I urge you, go to the Vaucher site and you'll see a whole pages of these for the off-the-shelf movements. Now, $70,000, what did they do with it? Well, they took all of the bases and bridges and made them out of titanium. Again, whether that's $70,000 or $60,000 over the highest one of the other two, I don't know. But it's important to know about these things. So, I mean, with me, I think I've often looked for a watch, looking for a good deal that has a Vaucher movement, rather than looking for the watch. I'm looking for the movement. And so with Vaucher, you can do that. So not the case that something is manufactured in-house. Hermes, they own 25% of the Vauchers, so they can talk about in-house, but then they give it another name. They should call it a Vaucher. Same with Parmigiani. If it's designed by Michael Parmigiani, that's different. And Tonda 1950 is a gorgeous watch. It really is. But Vaucher makes all of them. I mean, it manufactures all of them, whether Parmigiani designs it or somebody else does. Okay, well, I've gone on for quite a bit here, so sorry about that. But the point is that you've got to really... The good thing about this is that the watch manufacturers, by concealing a lot of information, make us as watch collectors have to study and find out about that. And as a side effect, we find out more about watches. I wish we didn't have to do it that way. I wish we could just, open up a book or find a website and it'll tell us all about a watch. But with this, we have to do a lot of work. Okay, like I said, this has gone on a bit, so let's hear your comments and insights and any ideas that you have. And until Sunday, when we have a collection review, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Outside, the Art and Science of Watch Collection.